Hey there, welcome back to this little impromptu video that I'm doing. I just wanted to update, see how everyone's going and everything like that. So first on the list, I'm going to talk about Hearthstone. So some of you may know that I do play a bit of Hearthstone on this channel. You know, Hearthstone's a game by Blizzard Entertainment. It's a card-based game online. I've quite enjoyed over the years. Man, I've been playing it since I think I joined sometime around maybe Karazhan? No, League of Explorers? No, something somewhere around that time, you know. And I've had a good time over the years. There's been some great moments. I've really enjoyed it. But I have come to a point now, maybe it's buyer's remorse that's kind of gotten to me. But I just feel like it's not worth it to continue, sort of thing. So there's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is primarily just the amount of money I have to spend on it as a game. To stay competitive is very hardcore. I mean, I'm spending more money on one card game than I have on, you know, well-built indie titles like, say, ta-da, Dead Cells. Dead Cells is a very fun game. It only costs me like $20 and it's got a lot of replayability. I come back to it every now and again and have a lot of fun with it. If I want to do the same for Hearthstone, particularly for standard mode, there's kind of a price to pay, you know. A quite heavy price. As it is a card game, they're constantly printing new cards and new cards and new cards. And, you know, to keep on top of the meta, you need to be buying more cards because the sets introduce more powerful cards. And so many cards, but that's just the thing with card games, you know. To keep up with them, you've got to pay some money to make sure that you're up to date with everything. So I'm not blind to the economics of a card game. I understand that this is just the way of the world, so to speak. But if this was a card game I played a lot, you know, and it gave me a lot, then I would absolutely, let's go full arrow build, I would absolutely shell out and pay more. You know, card games can be a great community experience. You know, there's people out there who play card games, they've met their fiancés over card games and that kind of thing. There's a great, huge community that's developed out of card games. So paying a little bit of money to stay in with the crowd, that's all good. I have never played a card game for community, so to speak, or the spirit of competition. You know, I'm not the go outdoors to your local maybe GameStop. I don't even know where you play games, you know. That's how naive I am with these things. But I don't have that sense of community that some people do. I don't get as much out of a card game as some people do. So if I'm not sticking around for the community, then I'm not getting any social experience out of it, or, you know, anything to that effect, then it's really just for myself that I'm playing the game. And do I enjoy playing the game for myself? No, not as much. I mean, I do enjoy it occasionally. There are, you know, the adventure modes. Sometimes the ranked mode can be very fun. Still like Wild. But I don't play it that often to warrant the expense that I'm putting into it. You kind of get what I'm saying? Like, if it's about $60 to $80 Australian to pre-order like 60 packs for the chance for a guaranteed golden legendary, and enough dust to craft at least one class that you can play with for the next expansion. It's not as worth it, you know. Like if I was playing it professionally, maybe. Well, definitely I'd have to, right? Because it would be my job at that point to use all the cards. But then I'd be getting financial return if it was my profession to play Hearthstone. As just a casual Hearthstone player who just occasionally plays the game now and again, paying full price for a game that I only play every once in a while, it's not very... it's financially lucrative, let's say. And you might say, oh, well, it is free to play. Why don't you just play it for free? Well, because kind of how the system works for Hearthstone, sadly, is it's free to play, but winning has a lot to do with the cash money. It's not as simple as just, you know, playing it and winning, and that will earn you back your stuff. Like, if you win, you get some gold. The amount of gold you get for one pack, for a sliver of dust to craft some of the cards that you need. Basically, the economics of the system would mean that as a free-to-play player, you would have to play it as if it were your full-time job to receive the kind of gold you need to keep up with the people who are paying for the game. Otherwise, and that would help you fill your collection a great deal. But otherwise, if you don't want to go that far, there's a little problem of you don't have that much dust, right? Or you don't have that many cards. And the problem with not having much dust or many cards is you can't play many classes, and the game, at least to me, gets a bit stagnant, you know? Sometimes there are classes and decks that certainly get away from the monotony of having to replay the same deck over and over again. But if you look at something like Odd Paladin, which is a list that didn't change a whole lot over the years that it was in Standard, it was pretty much you played that deck to Legend repeatedly for hours and hours of time and hours and hours of time. And did I mention hours and hours of time? And that would net you some gain on your collection. But being real here, it wouldn't net you a whole lot of return. The return is a bit too small for all the hours you've put in. I mean, you may as well, if you're at that point, spending 50 hours a week playing Hearthstone to get your collection nice and thick, you may as well go get a job, so to speak. So that's kind of my economic concern with Hearthstone. I don't feel like I get enough out of my time, and I don't spend that much time on it anyway, and it's just not financially lucrative, and it costs a lot to continue to play a game that I don't get much benefit out of in terms of friendship or companionship or even game time or enjoyment. Like, it's good every now and again, as I've said, but it's not amazing. As I've said, you know, it wouldn't be, if you just got a real job, you could support it, but it's still expensive, you know? You could still get a real job and you're still shelling out a fair amount of money for a card game. And I'd still need those other things to be working first for me to, you know, even remotely consider it. Like, my enjoyment levels need to be high, and it's just, it's difficult. Because I enjoy the game, I don't want to pay that much for it. And that's kind of why I'm going to be stopping. Not to say that you won't see any more YouTube videos about it ever. There will certainly be more coming out, like once ever in a blue moon, but it's certainly not going to be regular, so to speak. It's just when I'm inspired to play Hearthstone. One last thing, at least for me, and I'm going to speak to my own personal experience, because this isn't something I've found with, the game itself. I think it's just an aspect of my personality, perhaps, whatever it is. I find it can be toxic for my, emotional health to play a game like Hearthstone. If I start losing, it just feels really fucking sucky. And if I keep going, then I've spent a lot of time in my day doing this thing that I fucking hate. Hate when I'm losing, of course. And, sometimes you can get on a really bad loss streak, and just seems to keep getting worse and worse. It's in the sunken cost fallacy, you got to keep going, And it just has this negative impact on the rest of my day. And then I can't stop thinking about how I lost that one game. It's just, I could do without that, And I have been better these days with making sure I'm not as toxic, but it's a fairly high demand to. But I mean, that's a lot of emotional growth as a person for one card game. To have to change, who I am to fit a card game. It's a big ask, It's a big ask to pay a lot of money. It's a big ask to make all these changes in my life to support a game that doesn't necessarily support me. So that's why I'm kind of quitting Hearthstone. Not quitting, that's of course hyperbole. But I won't be playing as much. I won't be paying for any of it, pretty much. Maybe someday, we'll see. But no, I'm not going to give myself that option. I'm not going to pay for any more Hearthstone. So I'm just going to be in perpetual control war, Reno lock forever, I suppose. Yeah. That's Hearthstone chat. In terms of other news, oh my god. I've been posting a bit more to Reddit these days to kind of get traction for the videos. It's helped out a fair bit. Reddit has brought in a kind of crowd sort of thing for the videos. I've had some nice discussions with people. It's been good. I have to thank Reddit because it's given me some traction. And I'll continue probably posting to Reddit and doing that kind of thing for the immediate future, I imagine. One thing, perhaps a more negative thing that I'd highlight, being just a small, basically nobody creating YouTube videos, I understand my opinion is going to be subject to a lot more scrutiny than, say, a big YouTuber like, I don't know, Jim Sterling, who's got a cultivated fan base. It's like, well, who the fuck is this guy? I don't know who he is. And that's very good for critique, because no one's there to kind of suck you off, so to speak. Everyone's there they're skeptical of you, which is absolutely appreciated. I think that's a healthy way for things to work. There needs to be a healthy amount of skepticism from the audience, I believe. So I enjoy that aspect of it, certainly. But for the same token, I found that posting, particularly to, the gaming subreddits, and this may be fallacious because I've not done it for long, if I post a critique to the gaming subreddit, as I've said, it's subject to a lot more scrutiny from the members of it, which is good, not so much when it's just the only thing I find about it which is negative is that the scrutiny isn't really, there's no comments to reject the thesis or anything like that. It's just kind of, it seems knee-jerky in a sense. if I'm looking to improve my critique or videos or get in an argument, I very much want to do that, but if there's no argument being had, if it's just a dislike, sometimes it's less helpful to me than a like, you know, because it's very much like, well, okay, so some people didn't like this video, but I don't know why, you know, and I have found it with the posting to the forums, which are, you know, like r/RimWorld or something. It might be people would probably be fans of the game, unless just my main problem would probably be fanboys, and that's absolutely something I don't want. If there are valid criticisms and concerns, of course, feel free to rebut them all. I enjoy having little chats and seeing if I made a fallacious point, or if something could be improved upon, or if there is definitely a point that I could do with some refinement. That's good. Where I don't like it is just, you know, knee-jerk, nothing to say really, but I'm just upset because I'm a fan of the game and I don't like what you've said. That feels less helpful, so to speak. It's, what do I do with that? I appreciate that. So I appreciate the comments. I appreciate the likes and dislikes. Feel free to, if you have a point that you want to contest, absolutely bring it up with me. I will try to answer them in a reasonable time and get back to you. I'll probably mainly focus on critique. So this is, say, in the hypothetical scenario that I were to get popular, so to speak, I'd still probably focus less on comments that are, you know, fanboyism or for either side of the game, and focus on the more constructive points. You know, if someone brought up a concern that's bothered me or that I think needs addressing, I will absolutely 100% address that. Rather than, you know, something innocuous. Like, hey there, how you doing? I will try and answer them as best as I can at the moment, but if, as I say, if I were to get a large YouTube audience, it would be a bit difficult for me to take the time out of my day to focus on everyone. I will try, if it comes to that, in the dream scenario that happens, but I will definitely be focusing on having discussions in the comment section. As a content creator, if someone's pointed out something and I've gone, I haven't even seen it, it's complete news to me. It really opens my eyes to what I could do better next time. In terms of my own style, one thing I have noticed is my YouTube work, so to speak, can be a bit contentious and divisive. I do say some things and make some criticisms which are quite harsh. I will be willing to accept that. So I don't think I'm going to change that. I'd very much like to give my opinions, and that means I'm going to tread on people's feet. Of course, the commentaries aren't necessarily a reflection of my personality. I certainly ham it up a bit and play it up a bit in, you know, a Jim Sterling kind of way, where there is a bit of a persona going on just to make the videos interesting. If I was addressing the points, I'd do it more in the video format that I did in the past, like the Game of Thrones, where I just kind of go no script and I just talk like I'm just addressing everyone as myself, rather than the critique side of me, which is very much a different person. So, particularly, I think one of my harshest videos where I went very hard on the game was Sunless Skies. I did rip into it a lot, despite the fact that I like the game, and if you you know, looking back on my playthrough at the very last minute, I addressed this point by just saying, I like the game. I would absolutely recommend you buy it. But I'm going to be negative in my review. I'm fairly upfront with focusing on some negative aspects of the game, you know. I want to, if anything, I just want the game to be better, you know. That's the reason I'm so hard on some of the games these times. If there are some problems that I foresee which I feel could be dealt with in a reasonable manner, or that they're just not addressed, it can be either frustrating or I'd like to see it changed. Whereas if I'm just positive with something, you know, there's less reason to talk about it, so to speak. I mean, the positive points are addressed in a lot of other reviews. There can be some unique positive points that I gloss over, which I should probably do more of. So I'll be the first to admit I should probably be a bit more positive with some of these videos and address my positive points more directly, because I focus a lot on the negative points, because that's the points of improvement that I'd like to see. Yeah, I should probably be a bit more positive with some of these things and more specific with the positives, because I do focus more on the negativity, and that's understandably going to rile some people up. But I'm not going to shy away from doing criticisms, so to speak. I think there are some valid points to be discussed, and regardless of likes or dislikes, I'm going to talk about them. If it's a bad point, absolutely, feel free to bring it up with me, and then we'll have a discussion. I may be wrong. There may be a flaw in my logic, so to speak. There was more recently in one of my Sekiro reviews, someone discussed with me, you know, my point about healing in Sekiro, which I felt very strongly about. But after seeing his perspective on it, his or her, they addressed some quite good points that I hadn't considered before. And so I'm having to reflect on this and say, well, perhaps I was wrong, and I should go back and take a look at it and see if this is... Oh, thank God, finally beat it. If this is something that I hadn't considered before, or something that I should address. Another thing I want to discuss is plans with this channel and where I want to take it. So more recently I did a kind of more old format video with Us. The great thing about the Us video was more that I just could do that in one day and knock it out, so I could to get on to other things while still providing content. So I do really enjoy doing... Stop it! Fucking prick. So it's just the new format videos that I'm doing with a heavy editing that takes a long time to do. Like, you'd be surprised how long a 5-minute video takes when you're having to watch it and rewatch it, and you've got, you know, life still happening in the background, and it's just insanity. It can take a long time, and that means that I can't get out as many videos. And I want to get out more videos, so that's why I'm using some of the more old format videos. I feel like I've neglected to talk about some topics that I really want to talk about, because I just haven't had the time to do them, especially with game reviews. The next one I'll probably do is Night in the Woods, for example. I like to give reviews for games that I've played, because I have footage and I've actually taken the time to think about my experience with the game and reflect on it. If I don't have a whole lot to say, then it's just probably going to be more a Seth style review, where I don't so much talk about my critique of the game, maybe just here and there, but I just try and create an entertaining-ish video. So yeah, I want to put out more content for you, and I want to do some different content as well. I'd very much like to do some in the news kind of things, because there are some things in the news that I want to talk about, but I haven't got a specific format for it yet. I wanted to talk about the whole Yogscast thing. That's not something I think I've seen anyone tackling in detail. Maybe more of a Fredrik Knudsen style of video. You know, where I really go into depth with it. Only problem is that conflicts a lot with creating the game reviews, but it's something that I'd consider doing. I don't. Well, yeah, that's true. I don't want this channel to just be one thing, so to speak. I just have a lot of ideas that I'd like to do, and I don't see why I can't do them. Like, the only limiting factor here is time. So if I've got time, I will absolutely do it. Jesus Christ, this enemy... No! I cannot believe this. That enemy is actually quite difficult. But I'm going to keep going because I've still got some things to get off my chest before we leave this. In terms of my editing is getting a bit better, I think. It's an ongoing process of, you know... the whole YouTube thing is an ongoing process. I talked to a friend and kind of had this strange epiphany, you know, because I wanted to do this game. I don't really see the value in gold a lot of the time, so I'm just going to leave that be. I talked to him and he said, "Oh, you'd really like this game." Thing is, I have seen a review for this game, and it looks like a quite long game. I'm all up for that, but a long game's going to take me a long time to complete with the current style of editing that I have of giving an entire overview of the game. So if there's like the beginning of a boss encounter, I'll definitely keep that. That's not going anywhere. But less important moments like combat, I'll probably skip that and just try and condense the video down to a smaller size, more compact, more highly edited, because if there's less content for me to edit, because it's more compact, then there's less edits I have to make, right? So I can spend more time curating the stuff that's already there. I don't want to make it too overly edited, but just little things here and there. It also, making a shorter video, which is more highlight based, will probably make it easier to produce more content as well. There's just a lot of advantages. So that's why I'm going to change the format of gameplay a little bit. What else on the chopping block? Oh yeah, and also I need a bit more time because I am running a channel with a friend of mine, which you can go check out. It's fairly good. It's gameplay centric, and it's really fun. But to run two channels at the same time and doing the editing for both of them will be fairly difficult. So I'm going to try and condense where I can, you know. The videos I'm very happy with. It feels a bit easier to do a video with a second person than just by myself. All by myself. When doing it just on my own, it can be kind of hard to tell, you know, if I'm saying something that's reasonable or incorrect. You know, it's a bit easier with someone there to say, "Dude, what the fuck? That's sociopathic." Because otherwise, you know, it just completely goes over my head. I try and catch it when I can, but you know, shit is said while, you know, being alone, that wouldn't be said around, you know, company and other people. It's a bit easier to gauge when there's two people running a channel. So I'm going to continue. So it's a bit easier for me to produce content there. And we're thinking of doing some more podcast style things, just talking about whatever we want to talk about, probably some live stuff as well, no doubt. So go check that out if you feel inclined. In terms of monetization, I mean, currently YouTube is a hobby, so to speak. And it'll continue being a hobby for as long as it has to be, I suppose. Someday I will set up a Patreon, I think, for those inclined to you know, support me. I'd definitely set that up. One thing I do absolutely want to cover, and I will be covering, is The Last of Us. It's coming out on the 2nd of February. I fucking adored the first game. The combat was very good, very enjoyable. I still come back to play it every now and again. There's just something so satisfying about, you know, bricking a man in the face. And I'm absolutely going to play the second part, regardless of YouTube, you know. But I want to play it for YouTube, because something like Sekiro, which I played, I had a great time playing it. Granted, it wasn't great for my personal health that I stayed up till 5 in the morning, tried to beat, what's his name? The, Ishin, the devil himself. What's his name? How can I forget his name? His name is Fuckface the Third. He was a challenging opponent, and I really wanted to finish the game that night, and that night became morning. But I had a great time with Sekiro, and I'd be willing to do something again. So just noting that when The Last of Us comes out, I'm pretty much dropping everything to get a concise playthrough out. That might involve, because I'm doing the more streamlined videos, it's probably going to end up being more highlights. So if you want more of you know, a full playthrough, you might consider other people like the Rad Brad, who plays, you can see every second of his playthrough up online. I am still going to do Darkwood. Trade secret, at this point in time, I've currently played through all of Control. I've actually finished the game, and it's just a matter of uploading all of it now and doing some editing. Editing for Control's not that heavy. It's maybe a couple of hours for each episode, which is fairly reasonable. I'm still a bit busy at the moment, so I can't guarantee I'll be getting it to you faster than I am currently, which is still once a week, thereabouts. Really enjoyed Control. Also, I wanted to tell you, I am quite busy at the moment. So that's why I've not even started on my Night in the Woods review. Fuck, man. This is going to be difficult. The game reviews take a long time. It's a matter of writing out a script, and then after writing out a script, you got to go and put in the effort to make the video entertaining enough that people will watch it. And sometimes the editing for that requires a lot. It's a long process, and I don't know if I'll ever be on top of it, really, because I want to continue making gameplay, but then I want to make reviews for the games that I play. In terms of videos, I do want to do a couple that are more positive on things that I like, because, you know, it's pretty easy to say what you hate. I hate being hungry, as does everyone, I'd imagine. I hate people dying, you know. I just wish they wouldn't die. But in terms of saying what you like, it can be a bit... I don't know if it would be more challenging, but it's... You know, to put into words why you like something, at least for me, might be a bit harder than saying why I disliked something. I suppose that's just because I'm a very critical-minded person. So anyway, this has been the ramblings of a madman. I hope you've taken something from it. Hopefully, all is well on your end. I hope life is treating you well. And I hope to see you again next time.